shop, Rob from Woodsley Summercraft here. The other day was my sister-in-law's birthday, Rosanna. So happy birthday, Rosanna. Now, she asked me quite a long time ago to make her a candy dish or a candy bowl. So today I'm going to do that. It is Saturday. Her birthday was a couple of days ago, so I'm late, but let's get this thing done. Now, this is a piece of mulberry from a tree that grew in their front yard. My brother and his wife both live in Bell River in Canada, and yeah, this mulberry tree grew in their front yard. They planted it when they moved in, and we cut it down a couple of years ago because it was just getting too big. I don't think we realized how big it was until we cut it into pieces and it covered the entire front yard. So this lump of wood, very twisted, it's very dry, it's very hard, and it's going to be an end grain. It's going to be an end grain dish, bowl, or whatever. So hopefully it doesn't crack. I don't think it will. It's pretty dry. We'll see how it goes. So I've got to get this thing cut up on the bandsaw so that I can mount it to my lathe and get it trued up and see what we've got. Here I'm using my bandsaw with a 3/4 inch blade in it, which is 6 TPI, and my new light fixture there, which really helps. I bought 3 of those. One's at the bandsaw, one's at the lathe, and one's at the drill press. You'll notice here that I have to raise the guard a little bit, right there. Beautiful colour and grain in this piece of wood. Just going to true it up so that it can turn on the lathe without too many big chunks flying off. Always got to have a sharp pencil, and thanks to Keith Barrow I have my centre finder, which will help me to mark out the centres of the piece of wood for mounting it to the lathe between centres. Again, you've got to have a sharp tool, and I'll start roughing this out with my roughing gouge, starting and stopping until I'm happy with it. I'll have to adjust the tool rest several times, making sure that the piece of wood doesn't hit the tool rest. Now I've increased my speed of the video just so that it isn't as long, by about 3 times I believe. You can see how out of balance this piece of wood is. I'll have to take care of those ends with a diamond parting tool soon, and then make my tenon on the one end. I'm just going to keep roughing this out until I've got a satisfactory surface and it's nice and even. Just increase the speed a little bit now that it's balanced, and using my diamond parting tool just to even up the ends and get rid of those out of balance pieces. Now I'm just going to start to make my tenon to mount it to the lathe with the chuck. Again, got to have a sharp tool. Using my Wolverine system. Nice sharp tool. So now I'm just going to start to kind of decide on a shape for this candy dish. Kind of like a short fat goblet, I guess. trying to decide on detail because I don't want it to be boring, so I want some sort of detail. So I'm looking at the stem of this to see what I can add to make some detail with my skew. And then I decided to reduce the size of the foot of it because it doesn't need to be the same diameter as the top of the rim. And now I'm going to decide on my depth and use a Forstner bit with my Jacob's chuck to remove some of the center material. It just makes hollowing the dish out a lot easier, and make sure you don't go too deep. Making sure to clear the shavings out as you go. I have had these bind up on me in the past, it's not fun. And now I can start my favourite process of hollowing the dish out with my Ellsworth bowl gouge. Now that outside shape right now, I will refine it shortly because I'm finding that extremely boring. Trying to get a wall thickness of around 1/4 inch. I don't want to be too thin, it's going to be used daily maybe. Using my tool rest now for bowls so that I can get right inside there in the bottom of that bowl. Clean up the bottom of the bowl. A little bit of shear scraping in there just to kind of even up the surfaces, and that's good. Now I'm just going to refine the outside a little bit. Give myself a small detail there. And now sanding from 120 down to, I think I went to 400 grit. Yeah, 400 grit. And I was using my shop vac to suck any dust away that I had, and of course I'm wearing a face mask as well. Okay, so this is now turned and sanded down to 400 grit. Very happy with the grain and the pattern and the color and the figure. It's just a beautiful piece of wood. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean this with some alcohol and then put some sanding sealer on it, ready for Yorkshire grit and my finish of Hampshire sheen high gloss. Now that is not a food safe finish. And you're going to say, why are you using a non-food safe finish on a candy bowl? Well, I'm going to say that this is a candy bowl for candy with wrappers. So now I'm just going to clean the dirt out with alcohol. And now for the sanding sealer, I'm using shellac watered down with mineral spirits, just so that it doesn't streak too bad. And I'm going to let that dry, and then we'll come back with some Yorkshire grit. So time for some Yorkshire grit. We'll get this fully coated. Oh boy, man, that's some beautiful grain. So at this point I applied some Hampshire Sheen High Gloss and let it sit for about 10 minutes to stiffen up and go tacky, and then after that I buffed it, and it really does bring out the shine and the luster of the wood just beautifully. If you're in the market for some Hampshire Sheen and Yorkshire grit, I'll leave some links in the description below where you can get your hands on some. Doesn't matter where you are in the world anymore, where you can get Yorkshire grit and Hampshire Sheen. Okay, so now I'm parting off the foot, and I'm trying to make a little bit of a concave cut so that it doesn't wobble around on the table when it's finished. And I'll part this down to about maybe a ½ inch nub. And I'm just checking to make sure it's concave, which it is. Now the cup's starting to wobble a little bit, so I decided to take a saw to it. And now I'm just checking to reverse chuck it with a piece of cloth underneath. I've reverse chucked it, and I'm just cleaning up the base of it now, up to the nub. I'm going to put a couple of detail lines in there. That's where my pyro is going to go, between those two lines. I'm going to sand it 400 grit. There's my pyro lines. And now I'm going to finish it off with some a private message. Not really private. It's a message to Rosanna that says, "Happy birthday, Rosanna, 2017," and I wrote on it that it's mulberry wood, and it is in fact from their front yard, which is I think it's cool, and I hope she likes it. Happy birthday, Rosanna. And thanks for watching. There's the finished item. It is a 6-inch diameter by 5-inch tall candy dish for my sister-in-law's birthday, with pyro in the bottom to personalize it a little bit. And it's from their own tree, from their property, which makes it that little bit more personal as well. So I'll leave some photos at the end. I hope you enjoy the project. If you have any questions, comments or concerns, put a message in below for me and I'll get back to you. Until next time, take care, be safe in your workshops.